the fastest processor in the industry for 2024 and a dedicated gaming chip on top of that. It's the iQOO 13 calling for success. There's only one proper way to find out everything about this smartphone. Let's inspect. Hey buddy, nice to meet you. I'm the Tech Mishka, and this here is iQOO 13, the BBK/Vivo brand, which through the years has been focused around delivering great value to younger people. And the series here is providing flagship-grade performance at a price which is more mid-range oriented. And a few years ago, another BBK sub-brand, OnePlus, has been exploiting this very well, calling it a flagship killer. So is this such one? I'm going to perform a lot of tests for you, some of them with very unexpected results, showcase gaming, tell you everything about the camera experience and everything else that you need to know about the actual performance of this smartphone. So let's get started. This smartphone screams performance, so let's check. Synthetic benchmarks will, of course, be a good proof for delivering excellence in a sustained way. I usually avoid both Antutu and Geekbench, but since this is among the first videos covering this phone, happy to run them for you, and it's the software based on Android 15 with all the updates as of December 2024. I've heard many things about Snapdragon Elite and the throttling before its release, but I guess after seeing this graph, all the doubts that you may have had should go away. It's a very remarkable thermal handling. I need to warn you though, the phone may feel really hot. Actually, I can't think of another device that has been that warm in my hands after testing. Luckily, with most games, it feels better and not as hot. Even if you opt for the most demanding titles, iQOO 13 is going to be stable, and if the game supports the feature 144Hz refresh rate is gonna be present for you. For some of the games, it's gonna be just 120, which is again down to the game developers themselves. Here, it is also the Qt chip to thank. It is an iQOO self-developed gaming chip, which helps the SoC to deliver steady FPS for the most demanding games. Supports up to 2K resolution, which is close to the desktop PC resolution standards, and has zero latency frame interpolation. Gaming experience is therefore class-leading. iQOO 13 is not one of the units designed to be rugged and gaming-styled on the outside, but is a true monster on the inside. For elevated gaming sessions, there are enough accessories with shoulder triggers or joysticks which have active cooling and can help therefore. Even without such, you're gonna be totally happy with the performance. The second big reason about building that much hype around gaming is because of the display, and it's not just because of the specifications that I'm going to talk about in a moment, it's because they believe it's one of the eye-friendliest displays on the market, for the good reasons, because they build in OLED circular polarization technology, which is supposed to reduce the negative impact and actually feel very gentle to the eye, especially with prolonged gaming sessions. Specs are also impressive: LTPO, 2K resolution, great touch responsiveness, awesome peak brightness. It's exactly how a true gamer is going to envision a good display. The polarized eye protection layer and the PWM dimming are what iQOO hope to be the new standard for eye-friendly display when it comes to low brightness. What I'm referring to here is the famous pulse width modulation intolerance that some people show, and it is great to see that smartphone makers now in 2024 are finally paying attention to this issue. I personally have never suffered from such kind of symptom, but check Reddit and you're going to see a lot of people. Headaches, dizziness, eye discomfort, just part of the side effects which would be mostly notable in low-light scenarios when the brightness is lower. This is why I've used these pro-grade tools in order to analyze the PWM frequency. Peak brightness is about 1800 nits, and iQOO quoted a value of 4500 for local peak value, whatever that means. iQOO 13 opts for interesting protection layer, Shot Sensation Alpha, which is supposed to be tougher and stronger than Gorilla Glass, slightly heavier though. The first two statements are something I can't confirm yet though. Another important aspect about great gaming experience is the audio. You want to listen to the sound coming out of the stereo speaker? High-res Snapdragon tuned sound? Just pay attention. Good! Are you ready now to talk about the design and the build quality? Because there are some components to be associated with premium devices, such as the aluminum frame, but there also still are connections to the budget nature of the series, namely the plastic back. In fact, it's the exact combo I would personally prefer: solid structure and also basic material on the back so that iQOO 13 remains lightweight. A reminder here that for the BMW fans, there's a branded edition in white colors and glass back. Nardo Grey and Alpha are the other two options, and here's how the unboxing of the latter one goes. It's a standard pack for most of the BBK-made phones, and you're going to get similar box with OnePlus, Vivo and some Oppo phones. There's a protective case, luckily, which reminded me to check the display, and it is also behind a screen folio. Keep it. It's a great protection layer which will be good for at least a few weeks, maybe even for some months to come. Here, 120-watt charger, that's already a rarity, and even Xiaomi have given up lately on providing such equipment with their phones, so I totally appreciate when it is part of the pack. The phone feels very thin and not at all heavy. iQOO say that this version weighs 6 grams less than the one with the glass back. A thumb up for that! Here's something new brought with iQOO 13, the Monster Halo lighting, a light that makes gaming more interactive and fun, if this is something that you enjoy, of course, and something that has potential to become one of the good ways to signalize about incoming notifications. Hold tight, Nothing phone, you're no longer alone. The specs of the phone are overall reassuring. We mentioned that Snapdragon Elite is where the phone sources its power from, a very large battery, an awesome display, triple camera setup, all the latest connectivity products, and you know what? It is launched out of the box with Android 15. In short, the latest and greatest in many ways. Sensational battery capacity. It's 10 to 20% bigger than some similar high-end smartphones. And paired with 120-watt wired charging, it tops up from 0 to full in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, no wireless charging, but I think that's okay given the exceptional battery endurance. Most of the days I was coming back home with more than 50% charge left, which means that even 2 days active use are possible with this smartphone, and something makes me feel that in 2025, this is going to be among the best performance about battery life in its class, and is equipped with Snapdragon Elite. Speaking of which, a very well-played move by Qualcomm renaming the series, because this essentially is powered by something that probably was supposed to be called Snapdragon 8 Generation 4, but the step up has been that significant that Qualcomm saw a good opportunity to rename the series to Elite. Sounds fancier, for sure. And all the hype surrounding it, as well as the gaming performance and all the tests we've performed just until now, kind of made us wait for this very important part where we start to talk about the camera. The main unit is based on a fairly large Sony image sensor, wide aperture, 15 megapixel capacity, with processing done by the iQOO-developed NICE algorithm. NICE stands for Neutral Image Computational Engine. It is a fancy way to tell you that there is no custom hardware ISP, and the processing is tuned on a software level and passes through the Snapdragon Elite hardware, which, as you can see, is totally fine. Quite great in some situations too. I think the specs of the camera are less inspiring than the results themselves. Plus, low light photography can put a lot of expensive flagships to shame. Same with the video performance, where I noticed some very good implementations and excellent stabilization. Yeah, video footage can be fabulous, and the camera has really a lot of awesome features. Here is my favorite one. You can set the exact parameters about each of the shooting modes, and the camera app is going to remember them. For example, you can go to the Video Pro mode and say it should be recording in 4K, 24 frames per second. 8K video recordings are also possible. They would just consume quite a lot of space. You have been warned. There is an ultra-wide camera, of course. It is usually a component where manufacturers can save some money from, and it's the case with the JN1 sensor in here. The telephoto camera is also somewhat weird. It is based on the Sony IMX816. It's a rather small image sensor. However, among the new offerings by Sony with quite promising specs, clearly not that capable in dark, but Snapdragon Elite and the mentioned nice are making the photos look actually nice. It's just a 2x zoom optics, perhaps in order iQOO to avoid integrating a periscope lens. A fun fact, at 10x zoom, looks like it is not too far away from iPhone 16 Pro after all. Selfie camera is just regular, although if we compare to Xiaomi smartphones for instance, 4K at 60p is something that the Mi fans community is still dreaming of for many of their current models, so well played by iQOO. Let me switch back to the camera app software and remind you that it's close to perfect, so highly customizable and so many pro features, you're gonna be just amazed. iQOO 13 also offers the new street photography mode. It's supposed to be an easy way to use advanced mirrorless camera features. Sounds good on theory, but I didn't enjoy it at all and was among the first things that I simply disabled. As for connectivity, stable, looks like it is battery-savvy, all the latest and greatest is present. Since we're here to pinpoint to the drawbacks as well, the infrared blaster has a bit of a weird placement, and no eSIM support if that is what you hope for. I can speak highly of the modem behavior though, the battery efficiency precisely. Qualcomm are traditionally very strong about that component. Should we talk about software now? iQOO promised to update this phone up to Android 18, and security patches are gonna last for even longer. Definitely great news. The Fun Touch OS, as the skit is called, is not my favorite flavor of Android. Some things are somewhat reminding of the OnePlus menu structure, some are inspired by other Vivo phones, there is some bloatware, there are some annoying apps, such as the V App Store. You can get rid of this using ADB command, or you could get used to it and have it as alternative to the Google Play Store. Customizations are in place and are a lot, but some native Android features are missing, such as the double press of the power for the camera. Here, iQOO 13 makes you use the double press of the volume down button. All the gestures are quite nicely working, there's a configurable sidebar, a pretty advanced gaming bar too, and some color adjustments which can make it look a bit closer to stock Android, but it's not. Say whatever you want, I loved the dialer. So sad that Google forced most vendors in most regions to switch to the famously incapable Google dialer. This one is so much better, reminds me of the good old OnePlus dialer app. So, before the wrap-up, my famous list with the drawbacks. Of course, with your contributions to be seen in the comments below. The lack of eSIM support, the presence of some bloatware, the unimpressive about zoom telephoto camera, and the lack of wireless charging are, in my opinion, what matters the most. So my conclusion, based on everything we've seen and tested in regard to iQOO 13, makes me think that it has everything that it takes to be called a flagship killer. Exceptional performance, sensational battery life, the display which is also, well, very good, and I'd love to see more feedback from actual users about how they feel in regard to the display. As for the camera, it's good, it's on par with most 2023 flagships, some of the 2024 models, so it would be fine for most of the cases. And I think iQOO 13 goes into one very smart niche, namely providing exceptional, uncompromised performance, which would be great for gamers, but also keeping nice, sleek, stylish and premium feeling design at a price which, well, given the competition, I think it's really good, because my expectation is that most of the regular flagships are going to cost at least 10 to 15% more than what they were asking for last year. So yeah, iQOO 13, very much recommended. At least this is my opinion, and I'd love to hear about your feedback, buddy. So join in the comments below, let me know how you feel about the iQOO 13, and feel free to ask me anything in that regard, in case you feel that I've missed something in this review. Thanks a lot for watching, I'm the Tech Mishka, would love to see you again, therefore subscribe. Have a great day.